MeMonster.
Chapter 76. The first taming was over. The purpose was to emphasize the importance of cooperation. I faced Veltist and Nerissa without showing any mercy. Whether it was one-on-one or two-on-one, it didn't matter. I constantly activated frenzy mode and struck them down whenever I saw an opening. There were numerous times when one of them came close to dying. "Isn't this a bit too harsh?" Aolka asked, concern in her voice. "I'm doing what they want," I replied, chuckling at her worry. There was still some time left until the climb. Anything hadn't sent out Party 1 yet. It seemed he wanted to give the new members some time to adapt. I decided to make the most of it. The cooperation between Velkist and Nerissa became more refined as the days went on. Velkist was skilled in close combat, while Nerissa excelled at mid-range. They started learning how to utilize each other's strengths and cover each other's weaknesses. Of course, amidst all this, they didn't forget to exchange insults. This should be sufficient. I extended my sword. The two of them were lying in the corner of the training ground. They had lasted for 3 minutes this time. Considering they couldn't even last 30 seconds at the beginning, their growth was remarkable. Jenna will join the next sparring session. "What do you mean? So you think you're the only ones allowed to work in a team? We will too." The expressions of the two noticeably stiffened. I continued, "Don't worry, we're not fixing the members. It's me, Jenna, and you two. We'll take turns fighting with each other. Get to know each other's characteristics and personalities to find points of cooperation." I thought I would be fighting based on my individual abilities when I joined Party 1, but this is completely different. On the 5th, 10th, and 15th floors, the seniors' ability stood out. Honestly, the others didn't catch my eye. What's the point of this kind of training? Are your eyes full of holes? Alone, I can't do anything. Even if you watched the video of the clears, it would be different from experiencing it firsthand. Or maybe he was just more focused on me when he watched. I spoke from experience. Individual abilities are important. No matter how well your teamwork is, if an individual is weak, it falls short. But the opposite is also true. If there is no teamwork, even if individuals are strong, the mission fails. Is that true? Of course. If you have overwhelming strength, you can finish the mission alone. But it seems like none of us here, including me, have that kind of ability. Enough complaining, get up. We don't have much time. As my oppa said, I'm going too, Jenna said. Velkist and Nerissa got up hesitantly. Don't grumble too much. Once a certain foundation is established, we'll do individual training until you're sick of it. I'll be waiting, Velkist replied, tightly gripping his sword. Not bad. The speed of their growth and the current situation of being able to spar 2-on-2, I quite liked it. Until now, except for Aolka, we were always odd-numbered, so we couldn't do this type of training. Even if we put members from 2 parties together, it was inefficient to fight as a party. Let's go. I pointed my sword and ran forward. Jenna's arrow narrowly missed me from behind. Training continued late into the night. Apart from the morning's basic training and a bit of weapon skill training in the afternoon, we spent all our time sparring. We changed the members after each round. There was a side effect that the side I entered usually won, but Velkist and Nerissa gradually got along with Party 1. A week passed like this. This time, we included Aolka and started formation training. Aolka's and Jenna's vulnerabilities, how to defend against them, how to use their strengths. I actively coached Velkist and Nerissa on how to use the techniques I had analyzed. The more I know, the more amazed I am. Each tactic is intricate and efficient. One evening, after training was over, Nerissa looked at me and shook her head. I can't imagine what you've been doing in your past life. Didn't I say I was from a farmer? It's better to change that lie. Is that so? I smiled bitterly. The next evening, it had been a considerable amount of time since the last climb was over. "Party 1, gather at the first floor plaza," Isol's voice echoed through the training center. I wiped the blade with a piece of cloth that had tree sap on it and then left the personal training ground. The 4 members of Party 1 were there as if they had been waiting at the entrance of the training center. The intention was clear. There was no reason to go down to the lower levels now. Velkist and Narissa had finished the 14th floor before joining Party 1. They had honed their senses through training that simulated real battles. All that remained was the climb. "We've waited a long time," Velkist said, a smile playing at his mouth. I sighed. "Do you really prefer going out to fight? I think it's better than dealing with wooden dolls. Anyway, we're gathering on the first floor. You understand it's not for leisure, right? Get ready." Before leaving the training center on the 2nd floor, Aaron approached me. "I hope you are well, Youngnim." "No need to say it." I waved my hand and descended to the 1st floor. The plaza was crowded with people, most of whom I had never seen before. "Who are these?" I asked. They were summoned after the division of upper and lower floors, the 3rd generation. The first heroes, Jenna, Edis, were the 1st generation. Velkist and Narissa, who were drawn after handing over the strategy document to Anything, were the 2nd generation. Those summoned after the division of upper and lower floors were the 3rd generation. They looked at us with a mixture of wariness and fear in their eyes. Especially at me. You might not know it, but there have been strange rumors going around. I'm aware of that. After returning from the exploration dungeon, I rarely went down to the 1st floor. There was no reason to go down. After the division of upper and lower floors, Anything didn't send the combatants from the 2nd floor to the weekly dungeons. It was a sort of distinction. "Arrogant guy," someone in the crowd muttered. Hostile glares were directed at Velkist. Velkist casually looked away and chuckled. "Where's that dog barking from? If you want to fight, come out. Don't provoke them." I stopped Velkist from drawing his sword and looked towards a rift in space. The door was open, but people were blocking the central passage. Suddenly, an elderly man appeared in front of me. "Excuse me, are you Han Israt? I arrived here from Melkud just 4 days ago. I have a request. I suffer from a severe illness, and life has become quite difficult for me. Please, to the 2nd floor." "Move aside." "Out!" I pushed the man aside. A few men in the crowd dragged the fallen man away. A severe illness. He was spewing nonsense. The recovery capabilities in the waiting room were beyond imagination. As long as you didn't die, any injury or illness could be completely healed in a matter of seconds. Whether it was cancer or back pain, it would return to normal. About 10 days. I calculated the time I hadn't been to the 1st floor. I was busy taming these 2, and I didn't feel the need to check either. However, I felt that the atmosphere on the 1st floor had changed considerably in those 10 days. There were some similar crowds when I entered the exploration dungeon, but they didn't attempt to block the path like this before. Why are these people gathering? Don't stop Party 1. The master is waiting. Isel pointed her finger, and the men by the fountain scattered. They cast strange glances at Velkist and Narissa. Anyway, we had a long way to go. I entered the rift in space with the 4 of them. The door closed with a creak. I told Narissa, who was examining her dagger sheath, "When did this start?" "It began shortly after the division of the upper and lower floors. Little by little, signs began to appear." "Signs? Is it a foreshadowing?" Yolka blinked. I lightly chuckled and replied, "It's a side effect of dividing the upper and lower floors." They were strange people. "Well, don't worry about it. Right now, the mission is more urgent." I still couldn't be sure. What they did was nothing more than watching me, although it felt more like spying than watching. Main dungeon. The current challenge floor is the 16th floor. The door will open in 10 seconds. Get ready. Dim light poured from the left mirror. I rested my right hand on my sword sheath.
When we enter the field, follow my orders. Understood? Yes. Yes, sir. I nodded. The light streaming from the mirror enveloped the entire rift in space. When I opened my closed eyes, a strange space awaited me. Simultaneously, a message appeared indicating the mission objective. Floor 16. Mission type, exploration. Objective, search the designated location. Everyone's gaze was focused on one place. They too were looking at the mission objective just like me. Velkist furrowed his brow. Exploration, huh? This is my first time with such a mission. We've only done it once before, on the 6th floor. It wasn't a particularly difficult mission. Isn't that right, Oppa? It's different from the 6th floor. We'll see once we get there. I looked around. We stood on a luxurious carpet with intricate patterns. Behind us there was what seemed to be an entrance, a door that led to the outside. The walls were adorned with various portraits and decorations, and high chandeliers hung from the ceiling. Ahead, I noticed a staircase branching out left and right. The end of the stairs connected to corridors on both sides. At first glance, it seemed like the entrance to a grand mansion. Do you know this place? Nerissa raised her eyebrow. I can't be sure either. I'll tell you when I'm certain. All right. The second exploration mission. It meant that a streamed quest had been triggered. I spoke in a low voice to the party members who were looking around. From now on, we'll search this place. There should be an exit to the next floor somewhere. Of course, it won't be that door. I reached out to the door behind me. A transparent barrier blocked my finger's advance. Nerissa, go ahead. Scout in stealth mode, and if you find anything unusual, come back and report. Yes. The rest of us will maintain formation and advance. Clank. I drew my sword and shield. The sound of each member drawing their weapons echoed in the empty hall of the mansion. No one's here. It wasn't an abandoned mansion. It was well maintained. I'll go. After nodding at me, Nerissa lowered her stance. Nerissa's contours became blurred. It was the effect of her basic stealth skill, subtle movement. Nerissa silently ascended the stairs and disappeared into the left corridor. We'll go left as well. Search formation. With a gesture, the members spread out in front and behind. I led at the front, Jenna and Yolka in the middle, and Velkist at the rear. With a well-organized formation, we ascended the stairs and entered the left corridor. Outside the windows it was dark, but candles were lit here and there, so the visibility wasn't too bad. It's somewhat eerie, like a haunted mansion. Why is there no one here? Jenna said with a hint of unease. We'll find out when we go in. As I passed by a visible door, I touched it. As expected, a transparent barrier blocked my finger's advance. There was no opening door. It's an exploration mission like the 6th floor, but the circumstances are different. First of all, the size of the field was different. We had been in the corridor for 15 minutes and were still in there. Yolka spoke up. Isn't this place incredibly spacious? I keep walking, but there's no end. The structure is unique. The size of the hall and corridor don't match. It would look strange from the outside. Look at you! You're surprisingly smart. Velkist frowned. Wizard? What did you say? Oh, nothing. Quiet. Don't make noises. The three of them fell silent. After another 5 minutes of walking, the end of the corridor appeared. The corridor split into 3 branches. A regular mansion wouldn't have this kind of structure. There were no people, and outside the windows, nothing could be seen. Not even darkness. This place wasn't a normal space. Is it a maze? I sighed. It seemed like we had been burdened with an annoying mission.
Chapter 77. Maze. Huh. Jenna blinked. I nodded and replied, It means this isn't an ordinary mansion. The corridors are probably twisted like a maze. A typical exploration mission ends after searching the field a few times, but when the field is a maze, things get troublesome. If you can't reach the designated place, you can't leave. The designated place was likely the exit, or maybe the next floor of the maze. In that case, this maze itself was a linked stage,
possibly continuing up to the 20th floor. Iloka asked, "Where should we go?" "For now, let's wait, until Neressa returns." Since Neressa wasn't visible, she must have entered one of the forks first. She'd probably be back soon. I leaned against the wall and closed my eyes. The others relaxed as well. This place is strange. There are no people and the paths are weird. Other missions were easier, just dealing with enemies that appeared in front of us. Jenna said, sounding frustrated. "I agree. It's boring." "You consider missions fun?" "How can it not be boring? We thought we'd be fighting stronger enemies from the 16th floor onwards." The mission format had changed. While previous substages were short, usually lasting around 10 minutes, from the 16th floor onward, the structure changed. Sometimes heroes couldn't escape the maze even after days of exploration. In the worst case, we could get trapped and the party would be wiped out. Relax, but don't let your guard down. There may not be enemies in sight, but they're probably here. If that's the case, we're lucky. Velkist's sword glimmered coldly. 5 minutes later, Neressa returned from the central corridor. She bowed her head to me. I asked immediately, "What's ahead?" "Based on my exploration of the central corridor, it seems the forks all lead to the same place. It's not that complicated." "That's fortunate then. There don't seem to be any enemies or traps, but something is a bit unusual," Neressa said, her expression darkening. I frowned. "Unusual?" "It's difficult for me to judge. You'll find out once you go." "Then I guess I'll have to see for myself." "Everyone, get ready." The three of them stood up. Neressa took the lead, and we formed our usual formation, heading down the central corridor. It didn't take long for the corridor to end. At the end was a small circular hall. As Neressa had reported, there were left and right corridors on both sides of the entrance we came from. The three forks converged here. It's not a complex maze. In a different situation, a single wrong choice could waste hours. Our supplies weren't suitable for long-term missions. I looked around the hall. Exquisite decorations were everywhere, and a red carpet covered the floor. The view through the window was pitch black. Another corridor continued straight ahead from where we entered. In the corner of the hall, someone was lying down. Neressa whispered, "That person. It seems like they're conscious, but they're not responding. Their condition is strange." "I'll go check." I approached, sword drawn. Her face was invisible as she leaned against the wall, but I could tell she was a woman. As I got closer, she groaned strangely. "Ugh." Dressed in a servant's attire, the woman kept making strange noises. She didn't react at all as I approached. The sounds from her mouth were a mix of laughter and crying. "Ugh." The woman vomited something. Black blood. The thick, murky liquid stained the carpet. She kept groaning and vomiting blood. After watching for a moment, I turned back to the others. "Don't touch her until we're sure there's nothing wrong." No notification indicating an enemy had appeared yet. Although her condition wasn't normal, she didn't seem harmful to us. Velkist aimed his sword at the woman. "She's suspicious. Wouldn't it be better to kill her? If you don't want to kill a woman, I'll do it." "Let her be. It's better not to touch something suspicious. There's a chance this was a trap that would trigger an unpleasant event. Sometimes it worked to our advantage, but statistically, something bad was more likely to happen." "All right then," Velkist said calmly, sheathing his sword. Jenna looked at the woman with sympathy. "She looks terribly miserable. Seems like she's got a severe illness. Should we try to help her?" "Well, we can't. Really, can't we? None of us is a doctor." I nodded and gestured to move forward. This time, there was only one corridor. Neressa led the way. Before leaving the hall, I glanced back. The woman was still lying there, her shoulders faintly moving. I feel like I've seen this before. I wasn't referring to the woman, but the symptoms. Vomiting black blood.
I've seen it a few times during my master days. That condition was called contamination, one of the worst curses among many abnormalities. When I was a master, I didn't think much of it. But now, things are different. It might be necessary to investigate when the opportunity arises. We continued down the corridor. After about 10 minutes, we reached another hall. It had the same structure as the first, but no one was there. Another corridor appeared straight ahead. Aloka furrowed his brow. It's starting to get boring. Can't we find a way out? Jenna grabbed the latch of a door in the hall, but it wouldn't open. The same was true for the others. Jenna clicked her tongue softly. Damn it. Don't complain too much. We'll be out soon. This maze wasn't complicated. It was a straightforward, linear route. We wouldn't take long to find the exit to the next floor. However, something was bound to happen before that. Things never go smoothly in this game. The unexpected happened when we tried to move from the third hall to the fourth. Nerissa, who was in charge of advanced reconnaissance, approached me with a different expression than usual. Her gaze was cautious. Enemies, Nerissa said briefly. Velkis drew his sword. Jenna readied her bow, and Iloka controlled her breath. I assume they're in the adjacent hall. Yes, there are 7 of them. They're wearing armor and armed with swords, spears, and crossbows. You should join us then. Nerissa drew her rapier and stood next to Jenna. I turned to them and said, as soon as we enter the hall, ambush the enemy. Jenna and Nerissa take care of the archers. The rest of us will handle the swordsmen and spearmen. From now until the battle begins, make no noise. All 4 nodded. There was a faint tension in their expressions. I moved forward as quietly as possible, suppressing my footsteps. The corridor ended just ahead. I heard someone's voice. I raised my left hand covered with a shield and folded my fingers one by one, a signal for the timing of the assault. 3, 2. I folded the last finger. 1. I didn't shout any battle cries. I rushed into the hall. My eyes met those of a man leaning against the wall, swallowing something. His pupils reflected my figure. 7 level 14 human soldiers. A message indicating the enemy appeared. Bingo. I threw the dagger that I had been holding in my left hand. Thud!
The dagger plunged into the soldier's throat. He choked without even screaming. Next to him, a soldier about to aim a spear vomited blood. Velkis, who had advanced rapidly, swung his sword, beheading one soldier and then impaling another through the chest. Blood splattered along the sword's path. Ping! An arrow struck the right eye of a soldier reloading a crossbow. The arrowhead must have penetrated his brain. The soldier fell forward, kneeling. Almost simultaneously, a second arrow flew, piercing the heart of another crossbowman. There was no need for me to deal with all 7. As Velkis and Nerissa cleared the enemy ranks, Jenna aimed her arrows at the gaps. I quickly scanned the hall. This wasn't a small hall like before. It was large, similar to when we were first summoned here. In front, a staircase leading to the upper floor was visible. There's a door at the back. Velkis' sword struck down the last soldier's chest. As soon as I confirmed he had stopped breathing, I picked up a glass bead from the display shelf and threw it down the stairs. Crash! The glass bead hit the transparent wall and shattered. Aloka, prepare a level 1 fire spell toward the main door. Sure. If I ask you to do it, do it. Okay, I got it. Aloka nodded urgently and began chanting. Flames began to envelop her. With each incantation, the flames grew denser. Velkis and Nerissa stepped back. Clang! After a loud noise, the hall's main door swung open. Dozens of soldiers waiting outside rushed in. 18, level 14 human soldiers. 5, level 17 human knights. A red light flashed in Aloka's eyes. Ignite! The incantation ended. A straight line of flames swept over the group of soldiers. Those hit by the flames turned into torches. The acrid smoke and smell of burning flesh filled the air. Velkis! Nerissa! Right! The flames swept through the center of their formation. The enemies scattered left and right. Following my orders, Velkis and Nerissa moved to the right. I ignored the soldier rushing at me from the left and used my shield to strike the head of the knight behind him. Thud! The knight staggered. I thrust my sword into the gap in his armor, feeling bones and organs give way. The knight fell without a word. A soldier with a spear lunged at me from the side. I ignored him and thrust my sword into the throat of the soldier behind him. The spearman fell over with an arrow through his head. If they had attacked in formation, it might have been troublesome, but a locust flames perfectly blocked their path. Jenna and I picked off the soldiers struggling in the flames one by one. The situation on the right was the same. Although Velkist and Nerissa hadn't developed fire resistance, it wasn't difficult for them to deal with isolated enemies. The bodies of the soldiers piled up. Krah! A knight whose body was on fire swung his sword. I blocked it with my shield and then swung my sword forcefully. The bent steel plate was cut away and blood spurted out. This guy was the last one. The 23 new enemies were wiped out in less than 5 minutes. I immediately threw my dagger toward the stairs. This time, it stuck in the carpet. Situation under control. Let's regroup. I wiped the blood off my sword onto the curtain. Aloka approached hesitantly. How did you... No. What are you talking about? The second wave of enemies. So that's what she meant. The others also seemed curious, glancing at me. After confirming the blood was gone from my sword, I sheathed it. It's a simple check. I just used the characteristics of the wall. Not only your body, but also objects you touch can't pass through the transparent wall. The hall stairs were an obvious passage to the next floor, but they were walled off. The wall was still there after we annihilated the first batch of enemies. Question marks appeared on their faces. I smiled lightly. It's no need to force yourself to understand. It was a clever use of the game's rules. Those who didn't know about pick-me-up would find it difficult to use. After finishing up, I looked at the stairs. The end of the stairs leading upward was shrouded in darkness. We'll clear it if we go there. However, it was in the form of stairs, not an exit. That meant a similar mission would repeat on the next floor. I looked at the party members and said, when we reach the 17th floor, we should prepare a bit before going up. Agreed. Seems like it's a boring mission. Is smashing everything your preference? To be honest, I chuckled and went up the stairs. As my foot touched the darkness at the top, a message appeared. Stage cleared. Velkist, 2 stars. Nerissa, 2 stars. Level up. Reward, 50,000 gold. MVP, Aloka, 3 stars.
Chapter 78. Light enveloped us completely. When I opened my eyes, we had returned through the rift of time and space. Our time on the 16th floor had lasted about half a day. Looking up, I noticed the sky had darkened. It seemed anything had disconnected after what turned out to be a rather lengthy mission. Will the 17th floor be the same? Jenna asked, her face full of dissatisfaction. Probably, I replied. I don't like this. I wish it would end quickly. It's getting late. I need to freshen up first. I nodded. Jenna slung her bow over her back and gestured to Elika. As usual, they headed off to the baths together. I turned to Velkist and Nerissa, who were waiting behind me. Today's mission is over. Well done. There's training again tomorrow morning, so don't be late. We'll be on our way then, Velkist said, sheathing his sword and striding out. That left just Nerissa and me. She stood nearby, looking hesitant. Do you have something to say? I have something to tell you about the place we just visited, Nerissa said, her gaze fixed and determined. Her reaction had been unusual when we first entered the 16th floor. I started walking toward the plaza. Follow me. Yes. The first floor plaza was now empty. It had been a long time since I'd seen it like this. The plaza's clock showed early morning, and the sky was a deep ashy blue. I ascended to the second floor, heading toward the dormitories. I saw Velkist's back at the entrance to the open second-floor training hall. He was just as much of a training enthusiast as Aaron. As I passed Velkist, I closed the training hall door with my foot and entered the dormitory. Nerissa followed. It was late, so the dining hall was deserted. I sat at a table and Nerissa sat across from me. In the center of the table was a teapot and cups. I poured water into a cup and handed it to her. Thank you. I took a sip of water. Although I didn't say it,
I knew Jenna, Aaron, and Edis, and the others in the waiting room were also questioning the mission. We'd find out the truth soon enough. I spoke up. Is it true the Golden Mansion consists of 5 floors? Yes. And you told me the bloodline of the 4 great families is mixed with the blood of monsters? Yes, but not just any monsters. While it's uncertain for Halcyon, there are rumors of dragon's blood. I took another sip of water. Dragon's blood. The 20th floor, a critical checkpoint in Pick Me Up, a gateway that separates beginners from intermediate players. Users who pass the 20th floor are treated as accomplished masters, but it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Anyway, the 20th floor has one characteristic. The stage type is fixed. Boss battle. The background and enemies may differ, but every 20th floor has a boss. Not just any ogre, but unique monsters with unique abilities for each account. Their strength surpasses that of regular large monsters. The first checkpoint in Pick Me Up is the 5th floor. Here, 1/3 of the masters are eliminated. The second checkpoint is the 20th floor. Here, more than half are eliminated. There were even masters who couldn't pass the 20th floor and vented their frustrations on the official cafe's career counseling board. I saw you rescued the princess on the 15th floor, but it's hard for me to understand why the Golden Mansion, something I'm connected to, suddenly appears now. I scratched my cheek. Unlike the heroes who simply carried out their missions, Nerissa seemed to dig into the very purpose of the mission. I don't know what your situation was there, but if you want out, tell me now. I don't plan on taking anyone who doesn't want to go. I have no intention of leaving. I'd love to kill those bastards, even though they don't deserve my time, Nerissa said with a wry smile. That's a relief. All I can tell you ends here. I hope it was helpful. Nerissa bowed deeply and left the dining hall. I sat alone, drinking water. The information from Nerissa and the bounty on the exploratory dungeon were on my mind. The 4 major families, Halcyon, and the church that issued the wanted order for the little girl. Word had it that most of the donations the denomination received went to Halcyon. I didn't know exactly what the organization was, but judging by the situation on the 15th floor, it seemed related to a goddess. And it was an opposing force to the special NPC, Priasis, who was part of the mission. This is a headache. I turned to my head, realizing there was no way to know for sure. I wondered why I had to deal with such annoying concerns. My job was to complete the missions, ascend the tower, and find a way back to Earth. I had no interest in getting involved in these petty struggles. I ignored the context and focused only on information that would help me. From my conversation with Nerissa, I gained 2 things. 2 valuable pieces of information.
First, the Golden Mansion, the labyrinth's background, consisted of 5 floors. This matched the current floor levels, from the 16th to the 20th. I couldn't help but feel annoyed. The labyrinth was not a field I liked. What master did? Second, those affiliated with the Halcyon family on the 5th floor of the Golden Mansion had dragon's blood. This let me confirm the type of boss monster that would appear on the 20th floor. Damn. I gulped down water. Dragons. Among the countless monsters in Pick Me Up, they were among the most challenging, boasting strength that rivaled the highest ranks, with no notable weaknesses. Some magic or equipment had elemental advantages, but there was no way to acquire them on the current floor. At the moment, they were one of the toughest monsters to face. At least it was comforting to know they weren't pure-blooded dragons. They were hybrids, so they wouldn't be completely overpowered. Pure dragons were game-breaking monsters that shouldn't appear on the 20th floor. Is there anything I can do? I had a rough idea of the mission composition, but there were no personnel or equipment available for replacements. For now, the only thing I could do was climb up to the 19th floor without losses. The next morning, well before assembly time, I asked Amarine, the kitchen assistant, to prepare preserved rations. The 16th floor had ended in a day, but the next stages might require staying for several days. We needed food.
I also requested the equipment production team to make storage backpacks and camping gear. They reluctantly complied, making tents and sleeping bags. I stacked them in a corner of the warehouse. After morning training, we talked over lunch in the dining hall. Eat while you listen. The four of them focused on me. As early as tonight, or at the latest within 2 days, we'll go to the 17th floor. It'll probably be the same labyrinth as last time. Ah, I see, Jenna said, pursing her lips, clearly unhappy. Things might get complicated from the 17th floor. We might end up spending the night finding our way. To prepare, let's divide our roles. The backpacks filled with rations and tools were divided into 3. I decided that Velkist, Jenna, and I would carry them. Nerissa, who moved a lot, and Iloka, who had low stamina, were excluded. I also explained the order and timing of the night watch. Iloka sighed deeply. Are we going to stay there that long? We might not come out at all. Such cases were known. Parties that couldn't find their way in the labyrinth starved to death. Masters who experienced this protested to headquarters, but the response was that it was normal gameplay. It wouldn't be that bad since it was a lower floor, but it was better to be prepared. It seems the kids are going to play outside, Velkist said sarcastically. Once we got past this section, it would turn into a short-term mission. After the labyrinth, it wouldn't appear again for at least 10 floors. I hadn't studied mission types for nothing. I understood the types of mazes and the most efficient ways to explore them. Even if a complex maze appeared, I was confident I could break through it within 3 days. I mumbled to myself while eating meat and took out a piece of paper from my pocket. The paper had basic maze patterns I'd researched. No matter how complex the paths, the basics didn't change. What's that? Don't worry about it. Can you give it to me for a moment? Velkist reached for the paper. I moved my hand away. Velkist grabbed nothing but air, his eyebrows frowning. You don't seem to like me. So you finally get it, I laughed. That evening, after the day's schedule, anything divided the heroes on the first floor into lower floors and weekly dungeons and called us. Party 1, gather at the first floor plaza. Just as expected. The 4 of us got up in unison. 3 backpacks from the warehouse were lined up against the training center wall. I grabbed the leftmost backpack. At the same time, a system message appeared. Han, 2 stars, requests to carry the leather backpack. Will you accept? Leather backpack. Inventory, waterskin, firewood. Yes. The cursor touched yes. I have to take care of all the annoying stuff. I tightened the strap and fixed the backpack before leaving the training center. Velkist and Jenna's backpack requests were also accepted. We headed down to the first floor plaza. Following Isel's guidance, we entered through the rift inside spacetime. As soon as we entered, the door closed and a message indicating the current floor appeared. Main dungeon. The current challenge floor is the 17th. The door will open in 10 seconds. Get ready.
Chapter 79. After the transfer, we found ourselves at the entrance of a mansion similar to the one on the 16th floor. Behind us, a staircase led downward, while ahead, 5 paths diverged. Velkist muttered, "This place is even trickier than the 16th floor." I instructed Nerissa to stay close to the party. With the labyrinth structure becoming more complex, there was a real risk of getting caught in traps or separated from the group. Don't scatter. Keep moving and report anything unusual immediately, I emphasized. All 4 nodded, their faces showing more fear of getting lost in the maze than of combat. I pinched Jenna's stiff cheek. Don't be too scared. As long as we stick to a few principles, we'll be fine. Really? We're not going to starve to death trapped in a place like this? Don't worry about unnecessary things. It was just the 17th floor, even if it was called a labyrinth. I had packed tools just in case, but the likelihood of needing them was slim. The real problem was that this account's difficulty level was anything but ordinary. Still, we would find a way. I led the way through the labyrinth, holding a pen and paper instead of a sword and shield. My goal was to map the labyrinth, since there was a chance the same pattern would repeat throughout this section.
Along the way, we encountered arrow traps and soldiers lying in wait, but in the end, we cleared the 17th floor safely. The rest of the labyrinth went smoothly. As we ascended, the structure became a bit more complex and the number of enemies and traps increased, but there were no major crises. We only had to stay overnight on the 18th floor at most. By the time we cleared the 18th floor, the unease had disappeared from everyone's faces. The day after returning from the labyrinth, anything gave us a day of rest, though of course we didn't rest quietly. I didn't make any specific demands, but the first party members intensified their training on their own. Velkist and Narissa, who had recently joined, were no different. We were getting closer to the 20th floor. I knew exactly what that meant. The second party began to operate, filling one of the empty spots. As a 2-star former hunter, he would take the role of long-range attacker in the second party. I heard he had been exclusively hunting on the first floor before moving up to the second. When we returned to the first floor plaza after clearing the 19th floor, anything was setting up a new facility. Constructing a facility. Please touch the desired facility type. Storage level 1 has been selected. Would you like to expand this building? Yes. Kurururu. With the confirmation, a faint vibration shook the first floor. We started cleaning up, organizing the tools we'd used and returning them to the warehouse. Light was inscribed on the wall of the second floor plaza above. It was easier than I thought. Why did you scare us so much? You said we could starve to death trapped in a place like this, Jenna said, as she placed an empty bag in the warehouse. I placed my hand on the bag. Narissa took the bag off my shoulder. There were a few genuinely dangerous parts. It repeated the same path several times. I wonder who made it easy to break through. Narissa said, looking at me with a mix of suspicion and admiration. She seemed curious about my identity. But what kind of facility is Master building? It's been noisy since earlier. Eloka asked, as we finished cleaning. It's a storage, a place to entrust various things. Storage? Isn't that the same as the warehouse? It's a bit different. I left the warehouse. After the vibration stopped, a message appeared confirming the construction was complete. The storage has been completed. You can now look back on the heroes who have left the goddess's embrace. Tips. You can check the illustration and data of the deceased hero in the album of memories. However, this is only possible if the hero's memento is placed in the storage. A marble door appeared on the wall of the second floor plaza. It was the entrance to the storage. I turned to Eloka, who was following me. It's our tomb. Our tomb? Eloka's face stiffened. It seems like the master is preparing for the 20th floor. Is building a tomb your way of preparing for the 20th floor? What's that about? It's creepy. Why call it storage? Eloka shivered. The three who had come out late were also listening to our conversation. It's similar to a mausoleum. Of course, you can't retrieve the bodies. It's for placing the mementos they used in life. What a ridiculous facility. Is it for a memorial? Building something like that, it would be better to improve the training camp. Velkist scoffed, heading up the stairs first. Storage. It's not a facility many masters use extensively. It consumes gems and materials for construction, but in practice, it has little functionality. At best, it's for looking back at illustrations and videos of deceased heroes. However, in my analysis, storage is more important than it seems. Anything was simply following Loki's strategy, post-mortem processing of heroes. Countless heroes died during the ascent of the Pick-Me-Up Tower. Deaths on missions are equal whether it's a hero raised with affection or one discarded halfway. I was no exception. I had lost many heroes on my journey to the current main party. Building and maintaining storage was a way to significantly reduce the stress levels of comrades after the death of a hero. I think it's okay. Master cares about us, right? Doing things like this? I thought it was just over if you died. It's ominous, like someone's going to die on the 20th floor. Oh, come on. We have Oppa with us. It should be fine like on the 15th floor, right, Oppa? Jenna laughed and looked at me. I shrugged. There were no problems on the 15th floor. We almost died. Ultimately, everything was okay. It'll be the same this time. Don't worry about it. None of us will go in there. Jenna gave me a mischievous look, then took Eloka and went up to the second floor. In the first floor plaza, only Narissa and I were remaining. Narissa approached me. She's a strong lady. If she didn't have that kind of mindset, she wouldn't have survived. That's why I keep her with me. In any case, the next floor is the 20th. It's going to be a tough mission, I can guess.
Nerissa said with her face tense. I chuckled. Are you scared? Of course not. If that were the case, I would have quietly joined the second party. It's not too late to do that now. Nerissa raised her head confidently, then greeted me and went up to the second floor. I stood alone in the empty plaza for a few minutes. The next morning, the first party gathered at the training camp. I looked up. The sky shimmered a deep blue. It was unusual for the master to log in the morning. Anything sent the second party into the dungeon for the first time. The floor was 16th and above. It seemed he was starting to train the sub-party now that the main party's ascent was complete.
You know, the 20th floor is right in front of us, right? I said, looking around at the first party. All four nodded in unison. I won't say much. Increase the intensity of your training. We've been focusing on formations and cooperative training, but now we'll focus on improving individual abilities. My current level was 18. There were 2 levels left until the maximum for the 20th floor section. But during the 2 level-ups while climbing the mansion's 4th floor, I hadn't raised any skills. I'd been busy getting the new member acclimated and creating a new formation. We still have time. The second party isn't far behind. We'll need to clear the 18th floor repeatedly until the main members reach their level cap. We need to finish preparations within that time. The estimated period is about 10 days. I'll tell each of you what to do. Jenna, you first. Yes, Oppa. From now on, practice the longbow. If you can, request a suitable weapon from the crafting department. Focus solely on that until you learn the longbow skill. If dragonkin appeared on the 20th floor, they would likely have tough scales. A longbow capable of piercing them and the skills to support it are essential. Jenna nodded. Iloka, increase the power of your magical fire. If possible, up to level 4. Level 4? That's not easy. I'm not forcing it. Just do your best. All right. On the 20th floor, we'd need high-powered magic, not just minor spells. Iloka had already increased her magical power and potency since her arrival. I remember her muttering that she might break through to the 4th level soon. After seeing Iloka nod, I continued. Next, the 2 of you. Do you need any separate instructions? I'll handle that part on my own, Velkus said. I have a few questions about some skills. I'd appreciate it if you could enlighten me. Don't worry about that. Velkus, thanks to his research, could now access the skill window. He seemed to be finding the right way to use his wild, insight, and other skills. He could develop them as he pleased. Unlike Jenna and Iloka, I could train them as I wanted, but that didn't suit Velkus's tendencies. So I decided to trust him. I planned to visit the day dungeon. Lastly, it was Nerissa's turn. This time, I will prepare extreme poison, not paralyzes poison. Since the materials are different, it may take some time. Is personal training not needed? I think preparing the poison would be more beneficial than my training, Nerissa said, giving me a meaningful look. Perhaps. Nerissa already had a sense of what the 20th floor entailed even without me telling her. A golden mansion consisting of 5 floors, she must have figured out what would appear on the final floor. Poison, huh? The number of weekly dungeons isn't high because the floor is low, but it wouldn't be pointless. I accepted this too. There's no fixed schedule from today. Move freely. Just don't be lazy if you don't want to die. If I was going to be that sloppy, I wouldn't have joined this party in the first place, Velkus said, picking up the sword sheath next to his chair. Let's start right away. Fight me, with real weapons. Are you talking about a fight this early in the morning? There's no morning or night in a fight, is there? An interesting provocation. I chuckled and reached for my sword. This guy is interesting. Even if he loses to me several times, he doesn't lose his spirit. His attitude is different from Aaron, Dika, or Asher. I'm going to ask the guys there to make a longbow for me, okay? Jenna said. Sure. Also order some thick arrows with it. If I ignored anything's gaze, I could make it myself, but the equipment crafting department's skills aren't bad. It should be fine to leave it to them for once. I didn't stop Jenna. As I was about to go to the training grounds with Velkus, Iloka shouted, I want to join the duel too. Iloka was biting her lips. If it's real combat training, why do you always exclude me? I can fight too. But you said you didn't want to. I changed my mind. I don't want to go into that weird storage anymore. I hesitated for a moment. Until now, Iloka hadn't participated in the duels.
She had actively refused, and it was dangerous in itself. Flame magic doesn't discriminate. With her level and skill raised, her firepower was now excessive, and being hit directly by her magic could turn someone to ashes in a single blow. "Are you sure about this? I won't go easy." It's what I want." Iloka swallowed hard. "Well, I was planning on including her someday." With this, Iloka was also included in the dueling members. "I want to fight with you alone, Sumbai." I ignored Velkist's complaints with one ear.
Chapter 80. Rumble. Flames spread in all directions, painting the iron bars red as they approached me. The heat burned my skin, even with my flame resistance. However, I lightly stepped to the right and then leapt. The flames chased after me, but it was already too late. The blade of my sword touched Aloka's neck. She gestured with an annoyed expression as the flames vanished. "You're slow. Can't you go faster?" "You'd told me to increase the firepower, didn't you? You even said you'd watch my back." "I did say that, but there's no harm in practicing, right?" I smiled and sheathed my sword. That was my 10th victory in a row. What I learned from our several duels was that Aloka was terrible in one-on-one combat. Her stats had increased, and the power of her magic had nearly doubled, but her control remained the same. Without any decent defensive spells, she relied on speed and seizing opportunities in a swift battle. It's time to learn chanting skills. For Aloka in her current state, skills like high-speed chanting or multicast were necessary. High-speed chanting would drastically reduce casting time, and multicast would allow her to mix telekinesis with fire magic for more versatility. It was a goal I had advised her on, and she agreed. "Next is me." Velkist, who had been standing outside the training ground, entered, sword already drawn. "No breaks for you guys." "I thought you were watching, didn't realize you were itching to join." All right, both of you, come at me. I don't want to waste time." Velkist glanced at Aloka and raised an eyebrow. "I don't want to fight with a magician." "If Miss Nerissa doesn't like it and you don't like it either, then who should I fight with?" "I don't care." "No need to be so snappy." Both of them grumbled but got into position. Velkist had also acquired flame resistance a few days ago. At least now he wouldn't be caught in Aloka's magic. I readied myself. "Here I come." Velkist's eyes sharpened. In an instant, his body scattered and dashed to the left. Simultaneously, the flames created by Aloka silently engulfed the right side. It might seem like a crude tactic, but the timing was precise. I raised my shield and awaited the approaching attacks. After that, the morning's training ended. Skill awakening. Velkist, 2 stars, basic swordsmanship has reached level 5. Velkist had raised his weapon skill to level 5. His growth rate was considerable. His talent was outstanding, and his effort matched it. His will and patience were strong. He was on the fast track. It's about time for me, too. Considerable time had passed since I reached my weapon skill level 7. I had a feeling that with a little push, I would break through to level 8 and step into intermediate weapon skills. There was a significant gap between basic and intermediate weapon skills. Weapon skills were the foundation of combat, along with a well-trained body. No matter how many fancy skills you had, without decent weapon skills, it was like an empty fortress. Flack. At the shooting range, Jenna was drawing her bow. It wasn't the small bow she had used before, but a large one that covered her entire upper body. Each time she pulled the string, a heavy sound reverberated. The arrows pierced the target more than 100 meters away with precision. The way she handled the bow was different from using a short bow. Jenna's fingers were tired. She had been pulling the thick, large bowstring repeatedly, and it had caused blisters. Thwack! The second arrow hit dead center on the target. Her accuracy was close to sniping, precise and sophisticated. No one had taught her this style, yet she had figured it out on her own. The power was no less than that of a crossbow. She would soon learn the skill of longbows. In one corner of the training ground shelter, Aaron and Asher were fighting with spears and swords. Both had weapon skill level 4. Until this morning, they were on par with Velkist, but now they were lagging behind. "This is quite mad," Velkist, sitting in a chair, grinned. Besides improving his weapon skills, Velkist had also raised his insight level. "I could see things more clearly now. I could beat you guys in under 5 minutes. Don't brag just because you went up once. You've still got a long way to go." "Well, I suppose you're right." The training ground on the second floor only had one arena. Since both parties used it, we couldn't monopolize it indefinitely. We took turns using it over time. Of course, most of the time, it was us that used it. The first party had already finished leveling up. I spoke to myself in a whisper. Status window. Han Israt, 2 stars, level 19, XP 42 of 150. Class, Novice, Strength, 43 of 43, Intelligence, 10 of 10, Health, 39 of 39, Agility, 37 of 37, Skills, Basic Swordsmanship, level 7, Insight, level 5, Flame Resistance, level 3, Pain Resistance, level 4, Composure, level 5, Frenzy, level 4, Stealth, level 1, Equinism, level 1. My current level was 19. Strength exceeded 40, and Health and Agility were getting close to that mark. Flame Resistance, Composure, and Frenzy had each gone up 1 level. I was just 1 level away from reaching level 20, where 3-star advancement and class choices awaited. I applied pressure to the cup in my hand. Crackle! The cup, made of iron, crumpled like paper. I placed the crumpled cup on the table. It would return to its original shape if given some time. It's a bit strange. Ever since I reached 2 stars, the growth stats had been oscillating between 5 and 6. 5 was the average for 3 stars, and 6 was the average for 4 stars. My overall stat accumulation was no longer that of a 2-star, something that other masters would note as manipulation. Without attaching a sandbag of nearly 30 kilograms, it wasn't considered exercise. My 100-meter dash record was approaching 8 seconds. I could do push-ups without getting tired. Up to this point, I had been near the limits of human physical capabilities, but now I was clearly surpassing them. And above all, something felt different every time I swung my sword. I realized it right after advancing to 2 stars. While using a sword and shield together used to feel natural, now it was becoming slightly unnatural. Maybe it's time to drop the shield. The shield didn't suit me. It was clear from the fact that I hadn't learned any skills related to defense. Once we broke through the 20th floor and had some spare time, it seems like I would need to separate my skills. Both parties gather in the square. Both parties gather in the square. A cell's voice calling both parties echoed. Another meeting, just like yesterday. It seemed like we were intent on circling the 18th floor as before. We don't have much time left until the climb. I stood up from my chair. The crumpled cup was back to normal. Velka stood up as well. When the second party reaches an appropriate level, we'll head there immediately. Be prepared so you won't regret it. You should be careful too, Sunbei. It would be troublesome if you got caught up with me. I like your confidence. I chuckled and drew my sword from its sheath. Iloka had gone into the magic library. She was looking for books related to casting. That night. Skill Awakening. Han, 2 stars. Basic Swordsmanship has reached level 8. I broke through to Weapon Skill level 8. Preparations for the ascent had been steadily progressing even while I was training. The equipment created this time was D+ grade leather armor. Considering the level of materials, it was quite a good grade. Several sets of leather armor were made and distributed between the first and second parties. In addition, anything steadily produced consumables like throwing daggers, antidotes, and healing potions. Useful talent had also been coming up to the second floor. First, there was a pharmacist who could make healing potions. She was assigned to the magic library. Next, Daika, the guy who became an instructor, returned to the second floor. Daika came to me, since I recommended him as an instructor, and repeatedly bowed in gratitude. Besides that, a few assistants from the support group were mixed in. The third party had also begun full-fledged activities. The third party was progressing at a steep pace, surpassing the second party. It was a necessary step. There was a possibility that we'd need up to 3 parties for the 20th floor challenge. After this challenge, it seemed they would join the second floor as an official party, rather than just a gathering of promising talents for the second party. He's preparing seriously for the 20th floor. The 20th floor is tough. Anyone who had seen the strategy I sent would know that. I've had my fair share of struggles on the 20th floor as well. I've experienced exactly 3 total party wipes. But here, I couldn't afford a single failure. Not on the 20th floor, nor on any future missions. I knew just how absurd this condition was, but I had no intention of giving up. I would use everything at my disposal, and I would survive and return to Earth. That had been my unchanged goal ever since I came here. Whatever happens. I closed the file. Inside were records of boss types and various patterns for boss battles. We couldn't know exactly which one would appear, but most of the strategies were memorized. I looked up at the sky. The sky was shrouded in a pale darkness. It was already the deep hours of the early morning, past midnight. The competition would likely start tomorrow. The leveling up for both parties had been completed since yesterday. The distribution of enhanced equipment was also finished. Everyone had been notified. It's good because the timing is obvious. I chuckled lightly. I had done the same thing when I was a master. It was a signal of preparation before the strategy. Then the next day, the heroes would prepare on their own. In the morning, I spoke to the people gathered in the dining hall. There's no training today. Wait until evening. Don't waste your strength recklessly. All members of the first and second parties were present in the dining hall. If there are any anomalies, report them. If you're too scared to go out for whatever reason, then I'll actively try to speak up to the master. Are you trying to get us synthesized? Vilkes laughed. Caught ya. I don't think it's a joke, Edis responded. Second party, are you ready? I looked at Edis and said. Behind her, members of the second party, including Roderick and Aaron, were seated. We're pretty much ready. It seems like we can participate. This time, you will also participate. It's different from the 15th floor. We know. And even though they're not here, maybe even the third party. I looked around at the heroes. Master will take some time to connect. If there's anything left undone, do it. Write a will or whatever. For those who write wills, I'll personally tear them up if you die. Are you really going to write a will? Don't pay attention to it. Iloka stuck out her tongue. Iloka quickly folded the paper and headed to her room. It seemed like she intended to finish writing it there. The dining hall emptied out in less than a minute. I spoke to Aaron, who had been sitting quietly. Make sure I don't break my promise. I have absolutely no intention of dying. Good to hear. Where are you going, Hyungnim? I'm gonna take a nap. Of course, I had no plans to do anything leisurely. I was planning to go through the data once more in my room until anything connected. The 20th floor is right in front of us.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe, comment, and like the video. Have a suggestion? Let me know in the comments.